So back in my schooling days, I didn't take many art classes at all. And most of the ones I did take, I really didn't do any of the work for. I was probably mostly paying editors on Fiverr to do it while I made YouTube videos. So, point is, I didn't learn much. I didn't learn much at all in school in terms of art, right? However, one thing that I did learn was a lesson that I got from somebody sitting right next to me, right? Somebody I talked to every now and again back then. Like, you know, we were just like sitting next to each other in class. This wasn't a friend, this was just a guy, like literally just a guy, right? And every day he would come in with these photos and open what I believe, if my memory serves me right, open Lightroom, right? I was either Lightroom or Photoshop. And what he would do on Lightroom and Photoshop is ruin these photos. I mean, just absolutely ruin them. The shadows would be orange, the highlights would be green. Like, you know, it never, not one good photo came out of this whole year when I'm sitting next to him. And you know, we still got along because, like me, he didn't do any of the assignments. We edited these photos to look like this. We would basically just sit there and talk the whole class. But what ended up happening that really did change my perspective on art, the lesson I learned, is one day towards the end of the year, he pulls out a different type of camera, and I'm asking him, like, oh, what's that? Like, why do you have that thing? Like, this is, you know, unlike you. You're editing these photos off your phone. And he's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, I have to edit this thing for a friend. You know, some random thing. I don't quite remember why he was doing it. But he pulls out these photos. He edits them to be the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen to this day. Like, since then, as I've grown up and gotten much better, and, you know, I'm not a little shithead 15-year-old anymore, I have, like, gotten better at editing photos. I've never once been able to recreate what he did with these photos. So good. Just so good. And I think it just made me realize, you know, and this is something that we don't often think about, especially now that everything's so digital, right? There's no way to hold on Photoshop the equivalent of a digital sketchbook, at least, you know, the way a sketchbook functions, where you half-finish things and just keep them on the page and move on to the next page. Like, there's no way to do that, right? So I feel like, especially with these digital platforms, we've forgotten just how much bad art it takes to make good art. And this, for me, was the moment I realized, like, oh, like, this whole year I've been kind of almost laughing at what he's doing, you know, to be 100% honest, like, being like, this is crazy that he's doing this, right? But he was sketching, he was doodling, you know, what the equivalent of that looks like. And I think that it really changed my perspective, not because of the fact that, you know, in just a rudimentary way of, oh, you know, you need to practice a lot or something like that. In a very literal way of, like, you need to make a lot of bad stuff to be able to make good stuff. You know, behind every single good artist, there are a million terrible, terrible paintings and terrible drawings and, you know, bad movies. That's how you keep going. That's how you get better. That's how you grow. And sometimes, you know, in growing in art, a big part of it, I believe, is executing things honestly, right? Is not compromising your ideas, is just making things as you feel, as you see them, right? And I think that sometimes we need to understand the fact that, especially when you're younger, right? Like, there's one thing about people who are like 50 years into their career still like dilly-dallying a little bit, right? But especially like when you're starting something, I think a huge part of it is just being like, I have an idea that's a bad idea and I'm going to do it, right? And I honestly think that's something that's like lost now, is being like, I'm going to do this. And I think I watched this thing a long time ago now. I wish I could remember where it was from even, but somebody was talking about their favorite bad art, right? And they were talking about it because they were like, I love bad art because it shows me just what I can do, right? When you look at like a master's early work that's pretty bad, and you go, I can do that, it puts you into those shoes, right? When you watch a movie that's like not that great, but like kind of fun, and it's something that you and your friends could go make in your, you know, backyard when you're a kid, that's a huge part of it. I think that, you know, just as like any sort of, if we look at like history, right, any sort of progress that's made in history is off like all the like decades and decades of just bad stuff happening. Art's the same way. Like, all the good art that somebody produces is built off of decades and decades or hundreds of pictures of terrible, terrible art, of just not good art. And obviously, I mean, we're using the term not good really loosely here. I'm sure we could have a whole other discussion around, like, what does it mean to make not good art? Like, I feel like that's kind of a burning question in this whole conversation. One that's not going to be answered because I don't have the facilities to answer what the word bad art means. That's a pretty big question, but I just think it's such an important part of the process that we've lost nowadays. Everything on social media is a final product. Everything, and even like so much of our art's made in these digital platforms now, right? Candidly, the paintings I've made this last year, these like 300 paintings now, this is the most physical art I've done in a long time, just in terms of volume, right? Like, because drawing, you don't produce the same kind of output even. If you're a musician, you know, how often are you playing physical instruments compared to like being in programs now? How many instruments can you play compared to how many you can work on in the program? You know, so much of it's digital now, and I think that that's made us lose the art of just like, okay, I'll just throw down some bullshit. Oh, that was fun. Okay, moving on, right? And that's what so many of these paintings are. Even what I do every day in the series is that. Like, the reason I use these canvases candidly is because they're $1 and they're small. I can fill them up real quick, get something out, and you know, a lot of bad stuff has come out of this series, as you've all seen. But I would like to give myself like, okay, at least if we look from day 1 and day 2 up to day 300, some progress has been made. And that progress is on the foundation of doing a whole lot of throwaway stuff, of doing a whole lot of like, okay, let's just get this idea out, keep it walking, and see what happens from there. And honestly, I think it's the most important part of art. You know, and how do you do that on Photoshop? How do you make something that's like, okay, let's just get this out like halfway done and move on to the next thing and keep it here in the sketchbook, right? Because that's one of the things I think we forget how important it is to keep it right next to you. Keep the bad stuff present. Because like, when I make something bad on Photoshop, like let's say I'm on Photoshop and dilly-dallying around, or on Illustrator or any of these digital things, right? If I make something bad, I'm just gonna not save it. Like I'll make it, like I'll do a sketch, what is the equivalent of a Photoshop sketch, a graphic design sketch. But it's not gonna be saved, I'm not gonna put it anywhere. When you do a bad sketch in a sketchbook, you have to keep it. Like it's the whole basis of having a sketchbook, is it's right there. And as you know, go through your sketchbook and keep flipping the pages, you come back to these ideas. And I think having like that back catalog right in front of you of your old bad art is so important to get to the good new art that you're gonna keep making, right? Like being aware of your own process, your own progress, being able to analyze your own ideas and place them in context as you develop new skills and do any of these things is really important. Like it's one of the most important things. And again, I don't have a way that we can do that in a digital capacity, right? Maybe, I don't know, if you want to open like a whiteboard program, like any of those, and just like put all your stuff in there, I guess you could, but like, come on, like nobody's doing that, right? But I encourage you, either way, to make bad stuff. And I don't do enough of it. I mean, I do a lot of it here, of course, but in terms of like graphic design or any of these other things, I don't do nearly enough of it. You know, this video is for me as much as I'm putting it out there for all of you. I think it's a part of the process that's lost, and I think that eventually you get to a point where even the bad art is good art, right? Even Picasso's throwaways by the end are now considered to be some of the best things ever, just because, you know, it's kind of like going to the gym. Like, you know, when you go to the gym, you hit a new PR, right? And you hit a point eventually where your bad days in the gym are better than your best days when you first started. That's what art is like too. I mean, that's what any progress is like, right? I suppose we could say that, you know, this video is about art, of course, because that's what we discuss here. That's what I'm talking about. But I think this is just about any progress in life in general. Eventually you're going to look back on what you're doing and be like, wow, there was a time when this was the best I could do with push myself the hardest I could, and now it's just Tuesday. And I think that's really awesome. I think that's really important. So go out there, guys, make some bad art. Make art that makes you be like, huh, like that's terrible, but like that's fun. You know, I think that's so important. This is the painting. Still going in with these colors, still doing this thing. I love these colors. I want to try and get in, instead of doing some scratchiness, I want to try and get in like these shadows in like a real purple instead of doing it the way we've been doing it, of like doing the black scratching. But I mean, I like it. You know, I think this is cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty content with these colors. I don't know, like I want to push them further. I want to do something more interesting. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to start with that. But yeah, pretty cool. I don't mind this. I think it's pretty cool. So go check this out on the TikTok and the Instagram. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Pain Talk episode. I literally just said the episode number earlier in this episode. Why does this always have? Is it 298? I'm not wearing a watch. No. 296. 298. 296? No, it's 29. I'm pretty sure it's 298, guys. Yeah, it's 298. So, that's crazy. I don't remember the rest of the intro.